Well, I have breaking news for you, but it's not good breaking news. So, UFC 223 was supposed to be headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. This is the fourth time the UFC has tried to put this fight together. Here is the bad news. It's not happening. Tony Ferguson is out. I can't believe it either, but it's true. And here's the good news, though. Filling in for him is UFC featherweight champion Max Holloway. Max Holloway will jump up to 155 to face Khabib Nurmagomedov in the main event of UFC 223. I know it's April 1st, but it's not April Fool's Day, I promise you. The UFC made it official. Dana White made it official. Ariel Helwani made it official through his own reporting. So did Brett Okamoto. It's real. Tony Ferguson is out. What the hell is going on? So back in December of 2015, Nurmagomedov was supposed to fight Tony back for the finale of The Ultimate Fighter 22, but that didn't happen, and I believe Nurmagomedov withdrew and was replaced by Edson Barboza. That was the first time the fight fell through. Then in April of 2016 at UFC on Fox 19, they were supposed to fight, and then Ferguson withdrew, and of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov ended up facing Daryl Horcher. Then they were supposed to fight a third time at UFC 209, but Khabib Nurmagomedov not only didn't make weight, he wasn't even able to weigh in. He had to go to the hospital, and it was canceled in. Here we are again, fourth time. It was supposed to be a UFC 223, of course, in 2018, and it didn't work that time either. I've never in my life seen anything like it. I've never seen a fight so utterly cursed. I don't know if you believe in the MMA gods or if you don't. I don't know where you stand on this one, but certainly I can say in all my life, I've seen pairings of 4 times before, right? Let's say Marquez and Pacquiao, but that's because they fought all those many times. I mean, even more than that. I've never seen a fight attempted to be made this many times and fall through. It's absolutely shocking. It's unbelievable. And I'm struggling to understand it just like you guys are. And you absolutely have to take your hat off to Max Holloway, taking on Khabib Nurmagomedov on 6 days' notice. It's just an absolutely incredible display of grit and determination and heart. And yes, look, it's not his natural weight class, so he can just go back down there. He's intimated about moving up to 155, but nevertheless, there's a lot of risk involved here. It's not exactly the same as defending his own title on that amount of short notice, right? He does have the refuge of going back to his natural weight class, but nevertheless, I think we can all take our hat off to the guy for accepting it. And by the way, Khabib Nurmagomedov accepting the challenge as well, not pulling out of the fight, not waiting for Tony Ferguson, deciding to plow through, staying in that main event. I salute both gentlemen for trying to keep the event alive. Now, what can we say about the fight itself? I know some folks are going to be very dismissive of Holloway's chances, and I understand that. Nurmagomedov has looked like a wrecking machine for, well, forever, basically, but especially as of late. But let me just play devil's advocate, if I can, for Max Holloway. He has superb takedown defense, especially along the fence line, which is where Nurmagomedov likes to do a lot of his work. That is really kind of important here. So he does have lights-out takedown defense. He has an ambidextrous stance, a fantastic jab, killer cardio. There's an argument to be made, if you want to make it, there's an argument to be made that I think Max Holloway could be considered a particularly challenging matchup for Nurmagomedov. Whether you want to think he could ultimately get it done is a bit of a separate issue, but I think it'd be very foolish to assume that he's got no chance against Nurmagomedov. I don't buy that. Now, the hiccup there, and then the bad part about this, is that it's 6 days' notice. How prepared can he really be? And that's obviously going to be a big deal. Plus, he's moving up to 155 when Nurmagomedov is a monster 155er, so there's a bit of a weight disadvantage there. So the prep time, the weight differential, and obviously Nurmagomedov has a very formidable skill set. These are all not working in Holloway's favor. But let me just say, Holloway, as I've talked about on my podcast ad nauseum, has a very good modular game plan. He can just sort of take his game and adapt it to any particular fighter, especially as the fight goes on and on and on and on. For a guy who doesn't finish people very often anyway, in Nurmagomedov, that could potentially be something that serves, at least in part, the interests of Max Holloway. I think we do have to take that seriously. I'd also say, look, the guy who's got a game like that doesn't necessarily need a ton of prep time to be at a place where he can do his, not necessarily his best work, but do good work, right? You have to consider that as well. If you're just the kind of guy who can make reads and make adjustments over time, how much prep time do you really need? And by the way, is Nurmagomedov's game any kind of a mystery? Not really. Now, there's a question about the injury that prevented Max Holloway from competing against Frankie Edgar, where, of course, Brian Ortega stepped in just one UFC pay-per-view ago. That's another issue we're going going to have to sort of follow here. How healthy is he really? But in the end, if we're talking about a reasonably complete, reasonably ready Max Holloway and a reasonably ready, obviously he's pretty complete at this point in terms of what he's going to be able to do, Khabib Nurmagomedov, it's a very compelling fight. It really is. Now, I'm going to Brooklyn this week, so if you got any questions you want me to ask, or if there's anything on your mind, let me know. Shoot me an email, lukethomasnews@gmail.com. As for what's up with Ferguson, we don't really know. UFC President Dana White said it was a knee injury. How bad? I don't know. Keep in mind, Ferguson is the only one of the three, if you're counting Max Holloway, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Tony Ferguson, who's over 30 years old, 34 years old, in fact. Nurmagomedov is 29, and Max Holloway, I believe, around 26, 27. So he's the older guy here. And now this injury, you have to just wonder, was his training method that he was doing? Remember, we saw him kicking the iron post, but what, a week or two ago? Was it something like that? Was it just a freak accident? We don't exactly know the circumstances nor the prognosis. Obviously, we're hoping that it's nothing too serious and that he can get back to the octagon. It also raises questions about what's happening here. It looks like Nurmagomedov and Holloway are going to be fighting for the real belt still, right? So if Holloway wins, he becomes the champ, right? He would be the champ at 145 and 155, setting up a showdown with McGregor, the previous champ, which would be kind of interesting. In either way, is Ferguson still the interim champ? Is he going to get some kind of a bout out of this? Where does he fit in? This is all really totally unresolved questions. We don't know. Here's what we do know. This bout was cursed. Are they going to make it a fifth time if Khabib wins? I don't really know. We're going to have to find out what happens with Holloway if he wins in the next featherweight title shot. Is he going to give Ortega the next shot? Is he going to go with McGregor? What are they going to do about that? It's craziness involved. So hang on to your hats, folks. This one is not over by a mile. Of course, the fight hasn't taken place, but I mean the controversy and the results and how they could impact everything. This is still all very much fresh, very much in motion, and not even close to a resolution. You can follow me on Twitter at LThomasNews, and of course, you can follow me on Instagram, Luke Thomas News, the full name there. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in Brooklyn.